Hi, welcome to Sunshine Art and Drawing. Today I'm going to teach you how to clean your brushes just using a normal soap. I did write a bit of a caution there because if you've got expensive brushes this is probably not going to work for you. But what you will need is one soap bar, any brand is fine, and a jar with a tight fitting lid and some warm water. First thing that you want to do is take yourself your cake of soap, open that up and pop it inside a jar with a tight fitting lid. For this I just used an old salsa jar and washed that out, and all you need to do is put the soap in there and a little bit, maybe a teaspoon of warm water. Pop them both in there, shake it up, and you'll end up with a bit of a bubbliness like this. The cake of soap won't dissolve, so you can use the cake of soap to rub your brush against to help pull the paint off. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but as you can see, the more I rub the brush, the more blue paint comes out. And you can just keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing until you've got a good amount of soap all over the bristles. Once you've done that, you've got a couple of choices. One, you can just let it sit to the side and soak for a bit to help get any ingrained paint out. Or like I'm doing, you can grab some warm water and just rinse it out in the warm water. You can do this in the bathroom if it's a bit easier. I'm just doing it here because it's easier to film. Give it a good rinse, grab yourself some paper towel and wipe off the brush. The first go of this will get off any surface paint and will allow you to see if there's any more ingrained paint. And as you can see, when I wipe this off, there's still quite a bit of blue paint that came out of it, so it's not quite clean. You want it to wipe off onto the paper towel almost clean, or as clean as you can possibly get it. So grab your soap once again, mix it all through, get it all covered in soapy goodness, and also dig down into that warm water, that will help. And again, once you've got it all coated in soap, grab yourself your nice jar of warm water and give it a good rinse off. I only had to do this 2 times and my brush was clean. It took me no more than maybe 30 seconds, and it's really handy if you've got this on your desk and you've got your water from your watercolour anyway. You can quickly clean a brush up that you need to use and you've left it dirty by accident. Now with this brush, I gave this one a really good clean. It came out really well. Like, I was pretty surprised. And what you want to do when you're drying the brush is you just want to gently squeeze out the water. Don't rub it against the paper, you'll make the bristles all fray. And just make sure you dry any water off of the handle and off the ferrule, which is the metal part of the brush. Just make sure you don't get any rust or anything like that. And shape those bristles back into a point. You can twist it slightly to do that, that helps a little. Once you've shaped it into a point, you can just lay your brush down and let it dry. But I do show at the end of the video a way that I dry my brushes. So I'm just reshaping it because I was just showing you on some paper that there's no dirt left in it and it's really, really nice and clean. And also just wiping any extra suds off and squeezing out any more water. You want to try and squeeze out as much water as you want, because if that water gets down into the ferrule, it breaks down the glue that holds those little bristles in, and you'll have even more hairs falling out into your paintings, which will drive you crazy. Once you've shaped it, you can pop it to the side, get yourself your next brush. Now the next brush I want to show you is an acrylic paint. I left this overnight, the acrylic paint has dried into the brush. So all I did was pop it into this soap, give it a really good mix round, make sure that you're really getting it into the bristles and stirring it all around as well. Lots of water and lots of soap. Give that a good soak into the water and rinse off all those bubbles. And for this acrylic brush, I only needed to do this once. All of the paint came out in one go, and although this brush is stained green, most of my brushes are, something with about my green paint, it's clean. I'll show you as close up as I possibly can. My camera's not that good at focusing, but it's clean. You can see how shiny the bristles are, and I'll also just bring it in for a bit of a close-up in a second when my camera decides that it wants to focus. See, even the bristles are all shiny, the ferrule is all clean, and you can pop that one aside and let that dry. I'm just showing you a close-up of this one, trying to get the camera to focus, and that's also very clean. It's come out nice and clean, but it's still wet. You just want to leave it laying down flat, or I'll show you at the end of the video how I get those dry. But this one is a bit of a strange one. I don't know, I was given this by my mum, and it's a strange sort of foam tip. I think it's for dabbing or for stenciling, and I use it sometimes just to, you know, do some art and things like that and experiment with it. And this one also was quite hard to clean. I think the foam absorbs a lot of the paint, so it took me a lot of rubbing with the paper towel and squeezing with the paper towel to try and get that paint out. And as you can see, it's more of that green that seems to stain everything I own. Make sure you rub all of that soap off and give it a really good dry. If you're worried about this, you can rinse your brushes afterwards, but I found I didn't need to. Like, the amount of soap that's left on them is barely nothing. You just keep rubbing and squeezing and trying to get most of that off, and make sure you dry the handle and the ferrule well. As you can see, all that green came off of those brushes. I'm going to have to get another piece of paper towel. And what you do when you're done, pop the lid back on. You don't have to worry about tipping the water out or anything like that. The soap, for some reason, seems to stay good. And I just use Dove because that's what I have on hand. And those brushes are now so super clean that I'll use them for my next artwork. Once I've finished washing my brushes, I like to hang them so that they can dry. When you lay your brushes down to dry, what happens is the water builds up in the ferrule, which is this metal part of the brush. When that happens, your brushes will end up losing more hair because the glue breaks down inside the ferrule. So what I do is I take my brushes and I get the largest brush I own, which is this giant round brush that I don't use, and I gather them all together facing downwards, and then I wrap a hair tie around the top. Just wrap it a couple of times so it's nice and tight, and make sure you're wrapping it around the ferrule of the largest brush just to make sure that the hair elastic doesn't slide down. Push your brushes out a little bit and get yourself a nice tall jar. This is just the jar, I think it's an old spaghetti jar or something, that I store my brushes in. So pop that in there, making sure that your brushes are on the outside of the jar. And just make sure that they're hanging downwards and that the ferrule is able to drain, and then the water will drain down the ferrule, down the little brushes and out, and your ferrule will stay clean. Once I've hung them all up, I just pop them on the windowsill to dry. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, pop a thumbs up, please subscribe, and have a sunshiny day.